Hello everyone, it's Brian here in Toronto, and I'm going to do a contest entry for Jason Skills. That's Low Noise Jason Skills up in Ottawa, who is having an 800 subscribers contest. There are a couple other contests that I'm going to enter, but I thought I would do this one first just to support his channel. Jason's a cool guy. We, of course, have met many times. He's come to Toronto. We've dug for records together, and it's always a fun day. And even if it's a couple hours, it's always fun. And a couple times we've filmed, or Jason's filmed the results of our dig at the side of the road with traffic. It's kind of interesting to do that. And the idea of this contest is just to talk about your favorite concerts of a lifetime. I think he talked about 12. I have 10 that I wanted to mention. And let me just preface this again by saying that I am from a small town where no concerts ever happened. And that meant that I didn't see concerts until essentially I went to university because there just weren't any. And even then, I was in a small city then, and there weren't a lot of contests there, although there were some on campus. So anyway, that's enough to. By the way, of course, go to Jason's channel. He's a really interesting guy because I've never met anyone with such a broad taste in music. I mean, everything from disco to metal and punk and electronic. It's really, really kind of mind-bending. So I mentioned the small town thing, and my friend and I decided we wanted to see Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band on the Born in the USA tour. And of course that meant coming to Toronto. And he assured me that he could get his dad's car and we would drive down. Fine. So we went to the local ticket agency. At that time there was a record store in town. And we walked in and the guy said, "I'm sold out." And as we were turning around to leave, he says, "But wait." He reached into his pocket and he said, "But you can buy my personal pair of tickets to Bruce Springsteen." Now this has a face value of $25.25. And the guy said, "I'll charge you $50 each." So it was double the price. I wasn't convinced we should do that, but my friend insisted, and we decided to pay the 100% inflation rate on those tickets. And we drove to Toronto, parked at a subway stop on the fringes of town, took a subway, and then a streetcar, and then found the stadium, which no longer exists. This was at the CNE, the stadium at CNE, the grandstand they used to call it. It's been demolished. And we saw the show. We were right at the back. I think they were only a couple of rows behind us. We were almost as far back as you could get, but it was amazing. It was actually a really good show. And then we had to find our way back. We almost got lost, but we did it. And this was August 26, 1985. And this is important to me because this was the first giant show I'd ever seen, a huge stadium show. And I had never really been to anything bigger than, at the time, at university, a smallish kind of show. So this was kind of astounding to be at something so big and with so much energy. The next one I don't have a ticket stub for because I think my friend still has it. We decided to see David Bowie on the Earthling tour. And the astonishing thing about that was I was used to Bowie being like a stadium star, but on this tour he did small venues. So we saw him at a place called The Government in Toronto. I'm going to forget the date, but it was on the Earthling tour. This venue only holds 3,000 people, and I don't know whether it was sold out. I guess the terrible thing about this show was that we were at dinner. There were four of us, and I was kind of anxious to get going. But my friend's going, "Don't worry, they won't take the stage. He won't take the stage till 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. He won't go on." So we ended up getting there at 8:30, which I thought was pushing it because the doors open at 8, and he'd already been playing for half an hour. So I was like, "Ah, I missed half an hour of David Bowie. So irritating." Number 3 is a show I don't have a stub for either because it was free. There's a number of free shows I could have put in here, but I saw REM at Yonge and Dundas in Toronto. That's the major intersection in Toronto, the one with the most pedestrian traffic right downtown. And they played a free show. And 20,000 people showed up to watch the show. It happened at over lunch hour. I left the office, walked over, watched the show, and went back. And it was really great. It was really great because it was so much energy. It was fun. It was the middle of the day. It was outside. It was free. I really enjoyed that show. And the interesting things about these, so far, I've only seen these bands once. I've seen Springsteen once, Bowie once, and REM once. So next one, again, a band I've only seen once. That is The Cure. The Cure. I don't know the opening act, and it doesn't say on here, but this is another show that happened at the Grandstand. And again, this is very early days for me in concerts. It was August 1st, 1987, $22.25. And I drove down with a friend of mine. The only thing that I remember about this show, well, I remember a lot about the show, but one thing I remember in particular is for some reason on this tour, newspapers kind of clued into the fact that the song about the song Killing an Arab, and there was this suggestion, is it a racist song or is it not? I don't think it is, but they didn't play that song, but there was a time during the show that it looked like they would because the bass player played the if you know the song, you know the opening bass riff for that song. He played it, but then they didn't play the song. So that was fun. I love the fact that these have a 25-cent CNE users fee, like 25 cents, which is why it's 25, I guess, 25. Okay, so a month later, and I'm mentioning this one again because this is in the days where I hadn't seen really big concerts, and suddenly I went to The Cure, and then a month later, on September 3rd, I went to see this amazing show. The opening act was Gene Loves Jezebel, the second act was Echo and the Bunnymen, and the third was New Order. Now, Gene Loves Jezebel I kind of like, but Echo and the Bunnymen and New Order on the same bill, I just couldn't believe my luck, and it was $24.75. Drove down with the same person, and this is, again, fantastic. Like, I had wanted to see New Order and Echo and the Bunnymen for a long time, and this is, 87, so they were both still young bands, I guess you would say. Great. I mean, I just loved every minute of that. Here's an artist, and again, I've only seen New Order and Echo and the Bunnymen once as well, but here's an artist I've seen several times, but I picked this one because I got his autograph. This is Billy Bragg, who played the Ontario Place Forum on July 17th, 1993. It's hard to see through the 1992. The Sharpie went over the date there. 8:30, $29. Great show. This is a venue I used to go to quite frequently because it had a rotating stage. So no matter where you were sitting, at certain times the performer would be facing you, and at certain times they'd be at the side or on the back. But it was very equitable. They used to have shows that were just $5, and this one was one that was a bit more. But yeah, I thought this was great. I've always been a fan of Billy Bragg, and it was nice to see him at that venue. Although I saw him at much smaller venues too. Another one I don't have the ticket stub for, but is a man I'd wanted to see for, and this is, I don't even know how long, how many years I'd wanted to see him, but it was something I thought, if he ever comes to town, I'm going to go see him. And I'm trying to remember the date here because I didn't look it up, and I don't have the ticket stub, but it was probably pushing 17 or 18 years ago, and it was John Cale. And I'll just say again, there's a really great John Cale series happening in the VC that may not be getting the views that it should. So I saw him. It was amazing. The only weird thing about it was in a tiny club called the Lula Lounge on Dundas Street West. And, I mean, the place can't hold more than... I can't see how you could fit more than 200 people in there. It was tiny. And we sat at tables like you're going to have dinner. And it was sometimes they were angled towards the stage. And John Cale came out, and the first thing he sang was Venus and Furs while playing his viola. Transfixed. I have vivid memories of that because it was just sounded amazing. Just an awesome show. Next, in June 18th, 1993, finally got to see Leonard Cohen for the first time. I saw Leonard Cohen at the O'Keefe Center. Not my favorite place to see a concert. It's a bit awkward, I would say, especially if you're on the floor at the back. It's kind of challenging. But, I mean, as you know... oddly, I've never made a video about Leonard Cohen, but he's one of my favorite singers of all time. Sadly, of course, passed away. This was $32, and I was in row YY, which gives you a sense of how far back I was. But it would have been considerably more money, and I was a student at the time, so I didn't pay up the extra money. Great show. As you know, I'm a fan. And finally, it's sort of sad that I never got to see the Smiths, but I guess as compensation, I did see Morrissey. Morrissey, this is July 5th, 1991. He played the Kingswood Music Theatre in Canada's Wonderland. Now, Canada's Wonderland is a theme park. It's like a amusement park with lots of rides, like roller coasters. And once you're in, you can then pay to see a concert at the Kingswood Music Theatre. Now, I bought tickets to see Morrissey and forgot about the second entry, or the fact that you had to pay an entry fee. So I would have had to pay, I don't know, $25, $30 extra. And I was kind of dismayed about that. But as we walked up, there was a radio station out front with a booth. And I went up there and just talked to them. And they were giving away free passes to the park. So we got in free. So that was good. Otherwise, I had to pay a lot more money. Now, this was a very, very strange show. Now, he mentions it in his autobiography, Morrissey autobiography. So let's take a moment and read what Morrissey wrote about that show. Toronto's Kingswood is a giant mass of screaming and swirling people, all very young. He's talking about me there. Some demented, many hanging off the stage, others climbing across the heads of others in order to reach the lip of the stage. And I look into the audience at a mass of legs, not arms, in the air. The vision is an endless roll, roll, roll of people being tipped off the stage with coats, shoes, bags, posters, all flying across the stage. High school girls of long blonde hair projected 10 feet into the air. Tearaways and brothel creepers punch their way through in order to touch the tips of my fingers and yelp with joy. I laugh. I am horrified. I can't believe it. I'm tearful. It's dreadful. It's beautiful. It's dangerous. And all the young people and vital to reach me as I had never reached to anyone. That's actually not too far off from the actual reality of the show, because I was stunned when I went there, because almost as soon as he came on stage, there was a stream of people, young men, I would say predominantly, older teens or maybe young 20s, I'm not sure exactly, would climb up on stage against all rules, hug Morrissey or try to hug Morrissey or try to give him flowers, try to touch him, and then were immediately ushered off the stage by security. Now, I don't know whether they were exited out of the actual venue or they're allowed to take their seat again, but it was an endless stream of people just running up on stage trying to touch him at all costs and then being ushered off the stage by security. It was a very strange. I sat in my seat. I did not go up on stage. Anyway, so definitely check out Jason's channel. I'd like to see other entries in this. Sounds like it'll be a cool contest, and I'll talk to you next time.